Okay, hello everyone. I just want to welcome you all to the 2021 ASUU Executive Candidate Debate. My name is Tori Peck and I'm the current ASUU Director of Elections. We have 3 tickets that we'll be debating today and I'm going to give them each 1 minute to introduce themselves. Before I do that, I would like to introduce our moderators for today. They are our current Student Body President, Ephraim Coombe, our current Vice President of University Relations, Ayana Amici, and our current Vice President of Student Relations, Michelle Valdez. I'd also like to thank the Hinckley Institute for making this event possible. The candidates will now introduce themselves in alphabetical order, beginning with the Paul ticket, and you have 1 minute.
Hey guys, I hope you can hear me all right. My name is Jacob Paul. I'm currently running for Student Body President here at the University of Utah. I'm running with Ethan Cuello and Olivia Tierling. Unfortunately, Olivia was not able to make it because she has volleyball practice. We're running on the idea of wanting to bring students back to campus in a really safe but highly engaging way. Thank you.
Okay, we will now hear from the Sanchez ticket.
Hello, everyone. First of all, I would like to thank the Hinckley Institute and the current presidency for being able to have this debate and having us here, the 3 candidates and the vice presidents. My name is Alejandro Sanchez. With me, it's Carrie Larson and Darren DeBrew. Carrie is running for Vice President of Student Relations. Darren is running for Vice President of University Relations. Darren couldn't attend today because she had a personal issue with her family, so I hope she can come back after this issue is done, but it's only for today. I'm super excited to be here and I'm very, very thankful for everyone.
And the Jakowski ticket.
Hi everyone, thank you for being here today. Thank you for the Hinckley Institute for hosting this event. My name is Jess Jakowski. I use the she, her pronouns, and I am running to be the next student body of the University of Utah, student body president, sorry. And I'm running on the Jakowski ticket with my 2 running mates, Tiffany Chan and Marianne Schell. They are both incredible women. We are a ticket of all women. I am queer. Tiffany and Marianne are both first-gen students. Both incredible people, and we are running on a platform with our slogan being students empowering students, and our 4 platform pieces are accessibility, affordability, safety, and solidarity. And we are really looking forward to this debate today, so thank you for having us.
Okay, thank you, candidates. I'm now just going to briefly explain how the debate is going to work for our audience. So our moderators are going to ask a total of 6 questions to the candidates. Only 1 member from each ticket may respond. 3 of the 6 questions will be general for any member of the ticket to respond, with the remaining 3 being addressed to specific members of the tickets. Candidates will have a total of 2 minutes to respond, and they will receive a 10-second warning to wrap it up before we move on. The order that the questions will be answered in will be announced after the question is asked. There are no set rebuttal times. However, a candidate may request a rebuttal time using the chat function. Only requests sent through the chat will be considered. The moderators will decide whether or not to grant the rebuttal request. In the event that it is granted, the candidate will get 30 seconds to respond. They will also receive a 10-second warning before we move on to the next question. Once the 6 questions have been answered, the moderators will select questions from the audience to ask. I will now turn the time over to our moderators, and we will let the debate begin.
All right, I'll get it started. Good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to have you all. I'll kick it off with the first question. And that first question is, what do you believe the role of ASUU should be at the University of Utah, and how will you administration, especially during the age of COVID-19? I'll repeat that really quick. What do you believe the role of ASUU should be at the University of Utah, and how will you accomplish that role as an administration, especially during the age of COVID-19? And the order we'll go in is Jakowski, Paul, then Sanchez.
All right, so I'll just go ahead and jump into this question. I love this question, and our platform is built greatly around supporting students through COVID-19 and ensuring that we as a presidency are advocating for students and, the resources and needs that they have on campus. And I think that the biggest role for the ASU presidency to do is to be a voice for students and to give students a seat at the table, because we all sit on very important committees where big decisions regarding students are being made, and ensuring that student voices are being heard there is very important to us. And we have several pieces on our platform that will fulfill this duty and give more students a voice. These are including more students on committees that have to do with UUPD, campus safety, and initiatives to make campus more accessible and affordable. We want to create an ASU director of accessibility to ensure that we are enhancing the online experience for all students and making sure that it's accessible to everyone. And I think that's the biggest role of the student body presidency, is to ensure that students are being heard and that their needs are being met, and that education is a good experience and accessible to all students from all different backgrounds and facing all sorts of different challenges right now, especially during COVID. So the Jakowski ticket is 100% committed to enhancing the online experience for students, and then also supporting students through COVID-19. And we have plenty of initiatives and action items on how we will be doing that. And I encourage you to check out our Instagram and website for more information on that. Thank you.
Hey guys, I'll answer on behalf of the Paul ticket. We believe the role of ASUU at the University of Utah should just be to represent the students. We're here to speak on behalf of the students and to help them get what they need. For a student to be successful at the University of Utah, they need three things. They need to be safe, every student needs to be heard, and everyone needs to feel successful and have the opportunity to be successful. Doing classes purely over Zoom and virtual is a really safe option for those who need that option. But we believe that students need to interact with one another to be successful and happy and healthy students. We believe that mental health is just as important as physical health. And with the data we've collected and the research we've done, it's been very clear, and we've seen that students need to be in-person learning to be successful. And we need to do that in a really safe way. So our administration and our goal is to bring students back to campus so they can be highly engaged in a safe and respectful manner. And I believe true learning is entirely found in the classroom. It's found outside of the classroom with the relationships you make, the opportunities you have to serve, and the experiences you have with other students. And that's where true learning is found, and that's where real meaningful experiences are going to be had here on this campus. Thank you.
First of all, this is an amazing question. Thank you, Ephraim, for the question. As a student body presidency, one of my main roles and one of my main things is to advocate for students, is to listen to students, to make sure every single student, regardless of race, ethnicity, culture, background, is being listened to. What we want to accomplish is to ensure that we are in a safe environment where students that feel comfortable going in-person classes, going in online settings, can be able to do both. We know that some students wants to come back to the campus, and that's totally fair. We need to find ways, while working with the CDC, state legislature, working with multiple researchers at the university, knowing that our university is top 10 medical in the nation, and this will let us to create opportunities to have a transitioning from going to COVID now to the new normal. How the new normal is going to look like. We have ideas, we have action items that you're gonna find in our platforms and in our social media. That how we're gonna come back to this new normal. We also want to ensure that students that do not feel comfortable coming back to campus yet, they feel comfortable, they have the resources, they still continue the online learning process, enhancing them, giving them resources. I know COVID has put a big toll in our mental health for all our students. So regardless if you go in person or online, I want to ensure that students have the resources for both, not only in person, but also online resources, enhancing them, put more of the allocating more of the budget of the ASU budget to ensure that the students feel safe, they have mental health access, and then lastly, they feel like they have a representation. They feel like every single student, not only from the business school or the College of Social Behavioral Science, but also from the engineering college, from the College of Social Sciences, from the College of Science, from the College of Earth and Mines, for the College of Architecture. Every of our 18 colleges should be represented, and that's what we want to accomplish here. No matter what, if you're undergraduate or graduate student, traditional, non-traditional, we want to ensure we represent you to the best of our ability. Thank you.
Thanks everyone for sharing so far. I'm happy that everyone's here and able to make it today, except for those that you mentioned earlier that couldn't be here. The next question that we have for us is, what do you perceive social justice to look like in the eyes of the student body presidency, and how do you plan to act in regard to this perception? And the order will be Sanchez, Jakowski, and Paul.
So coming from Venezuela and coming from a country where it currently has a lot of political issues, I learned more what nationalism and all these things come to place. Coming from a country that not many people knew, coming from a country that is having a lot of issues, not only political but also racially, was something new to me. I didn't know the culture, I didn't know the language, and I was objectified majority of the time because this is a new kid that didn't know anything. This is a new kid from a different country. This is a new kid that doesn't speak English. These are things I've always been targeted on. And it was my support, it was my family support, the resources that I got that I got able to overcome this. Racial justice is something that I do not support at all. I do support at all. I do not support racism. I do not support xenophobia. I do not support anything that makes any culture background derogatory to any character. I want to ensure we have resources to support every single student that faces these issues. I also want to enhance students supporting other students, knowing where they can go to, where they can be safe when something like this happens. I also want to enhance multiple ways for students to communicate directly with ASUU and come forward when something happened to them, come racially. We have a Joint Resolution 1 and Joint Resolution 2 by this great administration that we have currently. I think those are great steps, and we can keep continuing those efforts and keep adding more efforts towards this, because we're not going to tolerate racism. We're not going to tolerate xenophobia, transphobia, homophobia. None of that is going to be tolerated in our campus. With this, I'm very grateful for the question, and we also want to advocate for the Trevor Project as well. Thank you.
Great, the Jakowski ticket next.
I totally forgot to unmute myself. I apologize. But thank you so much for this question. I think this question aligns a lot with our platform piece of solidarity, because we want to stand in solidarity with marginalized students coming from marginalized backgrounds, including like undocumented, non-traditional students. And so in order to address social justice on this campus, not only do we want to stand in solidarity, but we also want to support these students in any way they can, be it financial, academic, mental health wise, so that we can enrich their college experience and also enable for them to be successful in college. Some specific ideas that we want to look at for social justice in regards of the student body presidency is that we definitely want to support both Joint Resolution 1 and 2. Joint Resolution 2 was written by one of our VPs of Student Relations, Mary Ann. This is a resolution in support of Black students, and so we want to continue supporting this resolution as we move on forward. And as we're more specifically about like equity, diversity, and inclusion, we want to have these plans to be more comprehensive and widespread in departments across the university. And we also want to conduct an immersive experience for incoming BIPOC students so that they can find the financial aid resources, any community learning experiences during their orientation. And so this allows for a more enriching experience for these students. And we also want to support diversity organizations and offices to have academic accommodation privileges, especially for like low income students or for like student caregivers. And so in like achieving all of this, we're able to stand in solidarity with these students and also bring them up the best that we can as we move forward. And so that's why we as a student body presidency candidate, we will advocate heavily for social justice initiatives. Thank you.
Great. And lastly, the poll ticket.
Yeah, I'll go on behalf of the poll ticket. Thank you so much for this question. I'm a BIPOC student myself. Like most of you, I've dealt with microaggressions the majority of my life. Diversity and social justice issues are very important to me, and I've made it clear in my statements on our platform. In discussions with Jake and Olivia, we as a team made it clear that we want to be in full support of diverse groups, not speak over diverse students as to what we think they need. And with Joint Resolution 1 and 2, they were able to answer. And we like Joint Resolution 1 and 2. We like that it promotes diversity, the need for full inclusivity and anti-racism. What we can do, and what, in talking with students, what they've asked us to do is to start a zero tolerance policy. We think that includes working with the community in the sense that this is a commuter school to make sure that future students know that the U is a zero tolerance university. We will work to fund more scholarships and low-income diverse students. And while they're here at the university, we will push for more appropriate diverse credit that applies to each student's major. We want to make sure that each student, when they graduate from the university, feels well-rounded and able to walk with people and work with people from all walks of life. We will, in conjunction to that, fund more teachings, trainings, and focus on anti-racism and eradicate decentralization and anti-oppression. I think that also with the police force, they're going through a complete change. They were run by unqualified people, and we have room to work with them to make sure that we get that right. But all in all, in order to make a campus community that is focused on these issues, we have to make sure that it's safe and that all kids feel included.
Ethan, your time is up.
All right, thank you so much, everyone. So moving on to the next question. The COVID-19 pandemic, as we're all very aware, has created a lot of mental and emotional stress on students' lives. How do you plan to help students' mental well-being during this time, and especially in relation to communities that have been affected most deeply by the pandemic, i.e. BIPOC, low income, etc.? The order we'll go in for this question is Paul, Sanchez, and then Jakowski.
Great. I'm excited you guys asked me this question. As you know, our whole ticket is to bring kids back to campus because we think mental health and physical health need to be treated the same. And we don't want to put funding into more mental health resources when we believe that that's just going to unpermanently procrastinate the problem that needs to be solved. As kids need to interact with one another to solve these problems. So I have some statistics, and you can find this on healthdata.gov, U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. From January 1st, 2020 to February 17th, 2021, females from 18 to 29 in the state of Utah, the total number of deaths, now this is unrelated to COVID, 174. Now 25 of those deaths were only due to COVID. From males to 18 to 28, 406 of those deaths from all causes, 24 of those deaths were only from COVID. Now all death is horrific. All death is horrible. Total, that's 49 deaths possible from male to female from 18 to 29. The total number of deaths in the United States is, there's approximately 500,000 males and females of college-age kids in Utah. If you divide that by 49, count it with me, that's 0.0000098 for college students' deaths in Utah. Now, when you look at the death rates for mental health disease and suicide, it's exponentially larger. Students can be on campus safely, and we need to do so to keep their mental health in check, and so we can interact. And I think when people are isolated, it leads to mental health problems, and it leads to people suffering from depression and anxiety, and that leads to suicide. So we believe bringing kids back to campus is the best way to treat mental health. Thank you.
All
Great, thank you. Moving on to the Sanchez ticket.
Yeah, thank you so much for this question. First of all, we want to recognize that mental health is a really big issue, especially with the pandemic going on. And we feel that the university, first of all, has an ample amount of resources available at students' fingertips, and we feel that students just generally don't know how to access them or where to find them. One of our platform pieces is mental health, so we want to be a strong advocate for students who are struggling with that right now. First of all, we want to create therapist accessibility. We want to utilize the graduate students who are in need of clinical hours that they can be watched over licensed professionals to help students who are in need of these mental health resources. We want to help create peer support. So creating student groups, we want to make known student organizations available on campus that assist with mental health. And the first step to combating mental health issues is education and how to go about these types of situations. We want to create off-campus support. So because students are not always on campus just due to the pandemic, it's extremely important to connect them with reliable resources. And then also creating awareness initiatives. Just some of the resources that we found, action items is working with SafeUT, the app. They have crisis lines and they have educational resources available. We want to specifically help LGBTQIA plus community. We want to emphasize that the Trevor Project is available with educational resources and a crisis line as well for students, especially in the LGBTQIA community. And then we want to focus on the Student Wellness Center and the Women's Resource Center.
10 seconds.
But we just overall, to finish up, want to make sure that these resources are known and connect students with these resources. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Moving on to the Jakowski.
Thank you all for asking this question. It really means a lot. We know that COVID is definitely it's affecting more BIPOC, disabled students, international student caregivers, and more. With our platform, we cannot have students return to campus until it is safe to do so. We believe science will only support in-person classes and the reopening of campus if scientists and doctors say that it is safe. We do not believe that it is safe to have anyone that is non-essential on campus right now. And we know the shift back to in-person is going to be very gradual and will take a long time. We will definitely advocate for continued access to testing, more PPE, and vaccinations for high-risk and disabled students and staff. We will focus on improving the quality of online college by focusing on accessibility, and we will not support in-person events and classes that can be online. Also, we will not forget to add that, we will advocate for a prescription benefit to the insurance plan. We definitely know that, mental health is very important, and some students are just not mentally ready to come back to campus right now. There's definitely been a lot of things that happened over the summer and just in the past, last year, where students are just not ready. And we're going to make sure that we're going to listen to the students and make sure that we know when they're ready, but also when the CDC and certain guidelines tell us to come back as well.
All right, thank you. And then just as a reminder, these next 3 questions are going to be in relation to your specific positions. If the specific position that we're asking the question about was unable to be here today, we'll just have to have someone else from your ticket hop in. So I'll give it over to Ephraim to ask the first. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. And so, yeah, this question is going to be specifically for the president candidates of each ticket. And the question reads, in the role of student body president, you are tasked with the important role of sitting as a member of the Board of Trustees. How do you plan on working with the trustees to advocate for students and ensuring student progression? I'll repeat it one more time. In the role of student body president, you are tasked with the important role of sitting as a member of the Board of Trustees. How do you plan on working with the trustees to advocate for students and ensuring student progression? And the order we'll go in is Sanchez, Paul, then Jakowski. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the question, Ephraim. First of all, I also would like to highlight the opportunity you gave to all the presidential candidates to attend a Board of Trustees meeting, which will give us more insight on what these meetings take place, what they do, and how they accomplish the policy for the entire university. Being able to work previously with administration, I was able to know more the process, how it goes, what the university is trying to do. Usually the university tries for the long-term policy making, but students, as a student body president, you want to accomplish as much as you can in 1 year. It's tough, but it's not impossible. As a student leader, and as probably as hopefully as the next student body president, one of the main things I want to highlight is to ensure that I want to represent the best of a student body. I want to ensure that this problems is not something a group or just a specific 5% or 7% it's only advocating for. No, I want to advocate for the entire 100% of the university, the 33,000 plus students that are at the University of Utah that are having some struggles, whether if it's online schooling, whether it's mental health, whether if it's safety, whether if it's campus services. I want to ensure that every student gets a voice. While sitting in these meetings, my goal is to represent it to the best of my ability. My first priority is to fight for them, to ensure like this is one of the reasons why we're having an issue at the university. This is why we're having this issue, and this is how we think we can accomplish this. And as well, I want to create this bridge of trust and communication with the university and the students to know like if we work together, we're going to accomplish this more. We all want the same end line. We all want the same goal. So that's why I want to ensure that we can accomplish this. I have the knowledge, I have the experience, and I've been working with prior university administrations, and I feel like I'm ready to take on this role.
Hey guys, I'll be answering on behalf of the Paul ticket. I love this question. I'm very thankful you guys asked. So I'm a 5th generation student here at the University of Utah, and I love and understand the culture here. And I love the students, and I want to represent the students in the best way possible. I'm also the president of one of the oldest organizations here at the University of Utah. And working with the Board of Trustees is purely going to be how can we help the students have the best experience possible. I know many members of the Board of Trustees have students here at the University of Utah. I know them personally, and I know that the individuals on that board are purely here to help us have a good experience and purely here to help the University of Utah succeed. That's my goal. That's what I want to accomplish. I'm really good at working with individuals. I'm very good at communicating clearly, and I'm very good at expressing myself when my opinion differs from others in a respectful way. So I believe that I am very qualified for this position to work with the Board of Trustees, and I will only advocate for the students' best interest and their entire needs as a whole. Thank you.
All right, I think that puts me next. So working with the Board of Trustees is a really cool opportunity, and something in my position that comes first is, I speak for students and stand up for students first, and I'm not afraid to hold the university accountable and bring up valid concerns in these meetings. And also that's a really unique piece that the president has to do is go speak directly with the Board of Trustees. And I think that something that's incredibly important that you can trust me to do is to bring concerns that students have and initiatives that we care deeply about, and demand action for the U, and do everything we can to get these things implemented to create a more accessible and safe campus for all students. And so that's the biggest thing, is pushing for more accountability and holding university leaders accountable, and then also pushing for more transparency. The Board of Trustees has a lot that they are over, and I think that being in my position, that gives me a great opportunity to be more transparent with the student body on, what are some things happening, what are these people saying, what more can I do in this position to advocate for you and push for more accountability and transparency from the university. So that's the biggest thing. And I have lots of experience within student organizations at the U with, sitting on meetings similar to these. And that's something where I can utilize those experiences and bring them to the table and advocate for students, because that's what we want. Thank you.
I have the next question. In your potential role as the Vice President of University Relations, how will you work to address the student-parent concern for the closure of UKids due to COVID-19? The order will be Paul, Jakowski, and then Sanchez.
Thank you so much for the question. We really appreciate it. So, as a member of University Relations, as Vice President, we have the opportunity to work with the Violence Prevention Board and the alumni. The alumni is comprised of a lot of parents who work with, who have students that go to the university, like my parents, that hold the kids' best interests in mind, just like we do. So we have a lot of room to talk about a lot of room to address their concerns and to align ourselves with what they want concerning COVID. So what we will do is we will go right to them. We will talk and speak for those that do not have power to do so, and who don't have parents who've also attended this university. We will make sure that we work with the CDC, and that we would make sure that we do our best to ensure that they come back in a safe manner, and that we ultimately that if we do get back to campus, that we will take every measurable precaution necessary so that they can ensure a safe learning and that promotes fun and productive learning. That's not something that can be done, and it's harder to do over Zoom. And we want to make sure that you know, we give kids who are at risk the opportunity to continue to take Zoom classes while doing the best and keeping the best interest in mind of all students. Awesome.
Thank you for your response. Next, the Jakowski ticket.
Hi. So the pandemic has definitely raised a lot of concerns for student caregivers. So some ideas that we have as the Jakowski ticket in addressing this is that we'll increase the funding to the School Life Fund to ensure that student parents are getting all the financial support that they're needing in regards to the closure of UKids. We'll also want to collaborate with other campus entities to establish more sustainable childcare access on campus, because we realize that there's not a lot of spaces, and these spaces also need a lot more infrastructure. So we want to ensure that there's more infrastructure for these children. We also want to work with childcare options to increase available hours of service based on need. And we also want to recruit and hire student parents to ASUU positions to ensure that they're included in the decisions made regarding like childcare funding and actively have a voice in the executive branch. This way, this allows for more genuine representation during COVID and even after COVID. And then a few more things. We also want to communicate with faculty and professors to implement flexibility to student caregivers, because we recognize that, you know, they have to take care of another individual on top of like being a full-time student or being a full-time worker. And so we recognize that there's a lot of decisions and factors that come into to these kinds of things. And then two last things, we also want to establish like academic accommodation policies / privileges for student caregivers, just in case like they need more time for a project or need more time for an assignment, because we recognize that, you know, they still have to take care of another individual being. And then lastly, we want to advocate for an extension of drop/withdraw deadlines for classes. We recognize that the majority of classes for the summer semester and the fall semester will still be done online. And so we want to recognize that student caregivers have adequate time to drop or withdraw from classes if they'd like. Thank you.
I'm gonna answer in behalf of Darian. She couldn't be here today due to like personal reasons and personal emergencies. But going through the point, one of the things I would like to implement is to make sure, like, first, work with professors and faculty to understand, like, to create more accessibility towards the student caregivers. We also want to highlight that having this pandemic ongoing, they also pay a big toll on them. Giving them the resources, we have amazing places within the executive board, that is the student resource board, ability that create a seat for the student caregivers, so they can bring their issues to the table. They can also have a say. They can also, and we can work together towards a solution. That's one thing. One of the best examples I could have is the law school, how they're currently doing with the student caregivers. Currently, they have multiple areas where student caregivers can study or can attend class, and they also have their kids within campus. I know this has been difficult to do now that the pandemic hit. So what we want to do is allocate more ASUU funding towards other outside resources that it can help student caregivers to have some type of daycare or some type of help when it comes to this. One thing that I want to highlight as well is that we need to create more scholarships for them. We also need to create more grants in order for them to succeed. We know that being a student parent, it's not an easy task. You already have to deal with how to maintain your family, how to maintain your son or daughter or the person you are responsible for. And then as well, you have to maintain a good academic success. So with this, I want to be more accessible with all the resources. I want to ensure that teachers also can be understanding of the situation, and also work with the accessibility Center for Accessibility as well. With this is all my answers. So thank you.
All right, thank you so much, everyone. This next question is for the candidate for the Vice President of Student Relations or a proxy thereof. So in your potential role as the Vice President of Student Relations, per Red Book, you'll be in charge of the Student Leadership Council. And then per historical precedent, you will also be in charge of the Student Commission. What is your plan for both of these committees, and how will you utilize them to benefit the entirety of the student body? And the order we'll be going in is Jakowski, Sanchez, and then Paul.
Hey everyone, it's Marianne. So as somebody who has also been in some of those meetings with Michelle for the Student Leadership Council, I think one thing that we're definitely going to do is definitely keep the council, but also for those students who cannot make the meetings, or students that are like grad students or like, student parents, and those that don't have access or just can't sit on the meeting all day, we're going to try to implement a podcast as well, so they can also listen into certain meetings, but also having like a university-wide podcast where we're highlighting different diverse student groups on campus, definitely higher administration and all those other things, and also being in charge of the student commission. I'm definitely someone who will just make sure that I work with the student commission to make sure that they're all good. I think I'll definitely just work with my other candidates and make sure that we are working and making sure that we get things going. I'm sorry.
All right, thank you. And the next will be from the Sanchez ticket.
Hi, yeah, thank you so much for this question. I know Michelle has done a really excellent job with managing these councils, and I just want to say, thank you for all your work. But we want to expand on the council and have proxies, and understand that it is very impactful, and especially on campus, we want to make sure that inclusivity for everyone, that we are able to have inclusivity, and we understand the importance of it in order to represent everyone. And we want to make sure that there are more forums. We want to make sure everyone's voices are heard in terms of those two. In addition to that, we want to also make sure that it's accessible to everyone. We want to include accessibility and work together, kind of making sure that whoever couldn't be there at the meeting has access to the resources and can listen in on the meetings and hear what's going on and updates. And lastly, we just want to emphasize that these councils require teamwork and transparency. And so we feel as a presidency, we can, especially as a vice president of university relations, just working on so many various councils and student leadership positions, I feel can do that. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you. And then lastly from the Paul ticket.
Hey, thank you. I'll be speaking on behalf of Olivia. She's out playing volleyball right now. So the question really is how do you keep students highly engaged is what we're addressing here. That's what the Paul Ticket's all about. We're going to have a diversity podcast highlighting diverse students across the campus, talking about their stories, who they are, and what makes them so unique and special. And then we also have Youths TV that's going to bring campus life straight to the students, talking about the exciting, fun, and highly engaging things going on campus. We already have the Youth Connect app. Now, that app is hardly used and it's not been marketed well. We want to revamp the app, remarket it, make it more exciting, make it more better. We already have kids working on it. And the app is supposed to highlight where student groups are meeting on campus, how to get involved, where fun things are going on campus, when the meetings will be held, where you can get safe COVID testing. And this app with the podcast and the Youth TV are going to keep students highly engaged, very represented, and do so in a fun, safe, organized way. And so we want students highly engaged. If students aren't highly engaged, there's a major problem on campus, and that's what we're facing right now. People aren't highly engaged over Zoom, and we're going to have safe options for every student that can't make it, and we're going to do our best to innovate and make it exciting for them as well. But we need to make sure students are engaged here on campus so it can grow and kids can learn properly. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Now we're going to be moving to the audience question portion. So Ephraim, Ayana, and I will be asking questions that are coming directly from the audience. Thank you if you're submitting them, we appreciate it. And Ephraim will be asking the first one.
So our first question from the audience comes from Lauren. Lauren asks, how will you influence the decision about in-person classes versus online instruction when that decision is largely made by university administration and more largely the state government? I'll ask it one more time. How will you influence the decision about in-person classes versus online instruction when that decision is largely made by university administration and more largely the state government? And all of these questions will be open to any ticket, but for this one, we'll go in the order of Sanchez, Paul, and Jakowski.
Thank you again for this question, Ephraim, and thank you, Lauren, for the question as well. First of all, like I mentioned before, one of the things that we want to implement is like work directly with university administration, work directly with the CDC, state legislators, because one thing that we know is that we want to push for it, but it's something that is not up to us. We can advocate for it, but it's not entirely, this decision is not entirely up to us. This decision is entirely, like I said, it's entirely up to the state and to the university administration. So what we want to do, what we want to accomplish is that we want to understand the students that want to come back in campus and want to have in-person experience, but also we wanted to understand the students that don't feel comfortable coming back to campus, knowing that there's still a pandemic going on and they're still like, they don't feel safe about it. So we want to work with both. We want to ensure like we have a clear communication. One of the things as student body president, you can be able to work with university administration, but also state legislators. You can also advocate for those. But we want to ensure first the safety of both type of our students that feel comfortable coming back to campus, but also students that feel comfortable being in an online setting. We want to keep the hybrid method, and we want to be pretty welcoming to each one of the decisions that students want to make. We just don't want to impose, we want to work alongside with them, and as well, like I mentioned, work with the State Department and work with university so they feel uncomfortable coming back, and also support those that want to have in-person classes and be more accessible while getting these resources. Thank you.
All right, I'll answer on behalf of the Paul Ticket. So it is totally possible to bring students back to campus in a safe way. Now, Utah State has had in-person classes and in-person events for quite some time now. They're rated number 6 in the nation for how they handled university operations during COVID-19. It's extremely impressive. Now, like I mentioned before, the statistic is 4 zeros, 0.00098 death rate for students our age for going on campus. So it's totally safe when kids are wearing PPE and they're socially distanced involved. So it's possible. The university is completely able to do it, and they're actually working on it right now. I've talked to a lot of faculty and staff, and they're actually working on bringing students back to campus so there's more in-person classes. Now, to clarify, every student will have an option, whether they want to be over Zoom or whether they want to be in person. Now, I know there's a statistic taken at the business school that 60% of students said they were comfortable coming back to campus, and the rest said that they thought about it and they would need more information. So kids want to be on campus. They want to be learning. Now, I know the Chronicle put out a report saying that when kids are in camp or in-person learning, grades go up, mental health increases, and students are overall happier and more engaged. And that's exactly what we're going for. So I know it is a state government law, but Utah State follows the same laws we do. They're in the same state. It is totally possible. And as students, we have a lot more power than we give ourselves credit as we work together. Thank you.
All right, so there are a few things I want to start out with on this question. So first, currently we don't support campus reopening. It's just not safe right now. I'll give a little background. I'm an RA in housing, and we moved in a bunch of students back to campus last fall. It was a mess. It was really hard. And that really showed all of us that the process of getting students back to campus is going to be slow. And even now, there's a lot of students who still don't want to follow guidelines. And so there's really got to be some serious guidelines made that will be with a way to enforce them when we do get students back to campus. So as of right now, we don't support campus reopening, and there's a lot of things that we need to consider. It's not just students who'd be required to come back to campus, it's professors, it's staff, it's TAs, and a lot of these students are high risk, and it's honestly a huge slap in the face just to open up campus and not give vaccines or require people to have been vaccinated. So we want to advocate for more from the University to the Hill. I'm currently a legislative intern at the Capitol. I'm there right now. I have lots of experience in advocacy. And, I want to advocate for students to get vaccinated and professors to get vaccinated and TAs to get vaccinated, but also a more liberal accommodations policy. So if a student doesn't want to come in person for any class that is in person, they don't have to. And the professor doesn't have to, and the TA doesn't have to, because we have to be taking these students into consideration. We don't have a lot of jurisdiction over whether we can or cannot open campus right now. And, being frank, right now, it's just not safe. And we can't put high-risk students and faculty at further risk of getting COVID. So that's where we stand on the issue.
All right, and then I have the next one from the audience. This one kind of coincides with what was previously asked, but it reads, if one student on our campus dies due to COVID-19 from an in-person event on our campus, is it worth coming back? And the order will be Paul, Jakowski, and Sanchez.
That's a great question. I'm really glad you asked. So like how I said before, there's a total of 49 deaths in the state of Utah from kids our age from COVID. So that's 0.00098% chance of us dying. Now, if kids are wearing PPE, and there's properly social distance, and we're taking the utmost precautions, and kids are getting vaccines, which the stories told to us is we should all be getting our vaccines by this summer. There won't be deaths on campus. And I don't know if there hasn't been any University of Utah students that have died to my knowledge by now. I don't think there will be any then. Now, death is a very grievous thing. That is horrible. No one should ever die. No one should ever be unsafe. And we're going to take that extremely serious. And the University of Utah will take that extremely seriously. Now, the people at risk for dying from COVID are over 70 with bad hearts. Our students who are at risk aren't going to come to in-person events. It's going to be a choice, and we're going to take the utmost precautions to keep them safe so they don't get sick and they don't die. Thank you.
All right, so short answer first, no, it's not worth it. It's not worth coming back to campus if we're going, no one should be okay with even one student dying to COVID, period. Branching out of that, we also have to consider that it's not just students that are at risk. It's faculty, staff, students' families. My grandparents, high risk. I'm sure that plenty of yours are as well, your parents, maybe even your siblings, us too, like and also putting our entire community at large at risk. Even if we as students aren't, like, there's plenty of us who aren't at risk and can have, like, feel comfortable putting themselves at risk of getting COVID. Even at that's putting our whole community at risk too, because those same students are going to go spread it all around Salt Lake and to their families and to people who are high risk. So in short, no, it's not worth anyone dying to bring students back to campus. And that's why we can't push for in-person classes until we have a solid, safe plan and enough people are vaccinated. Not just students, but it goes far beyond that. Our community, our families, us. And right now, that's just not where we're at, and we won't be for a minute, and that's okay, but it's not worth risking anyone losing their life over, because we're in a pandemic, and I've experienced myself, and I'm sure plenty of you have as well, the effects of COVID. And I've lost people to COVID, and no one should have to go through that, and we should not be responsible for that. And that's why we don't support opening campus right now, because it's not worth losing any faculty, staff, students, their families, any of our community members, because we felt like we needed to come to an in-person event. It's not worth it. Thank you.
This is a very, very serious question, because as a student, I've been witnessing deaths of prior students, and I will not tolerate another student being, dying because of not being conscious about it. We as a student government and student leaders, we need to be conscious about that none of our students should be able to go through this. Whether if you come from a high risk or low risk, we need to ensure that every single student is safe, not risking having the chance of getting the COVID-19. This is pretty serious, because I don't want to ensure, like, for an event that ASU promoted, or ASU having a campus opening, or the university in general, student gets the virus and it's in critical condition, or it spreads to someone in their family. Lately, the main thing is going to happen, oh, well, he got it on an ASU sponsor event. I don't want that. First of all, I want to ensure that students feel safe. And the one thing to feel safe at the moment, we're not going to be safe. We need to wait until the state legislators, we need to wait until the medical officials tell us the green light. When they tell us, okay, it's safe for us to start going back, to start transitioning to normal, that's when events can start happening. At the moment, it's not safe. I would not risk any student life, any student death for not being conscious about it. We need to use the proper precautions to go back to campus. We want to keep the restrictions of using masks, avoiding large gatherings, doing this 6 feet apart. We also need to be aware that not all the students are teenagers. We also have student parents. We have students are like they have immunosuppression. We need to be aware that we need to give them all the opportunities and all the resources, but also make sure that they're safe and we represent them to the best of our ability.
All right, thanks so much. We're almost out of time, but I just want to ask this really quick last question. We'll just limit the responses to like 30 seconds to a minute. We had an audience question from Benjamin that asks, what actions will you take to make the U a leader in meaningful climate change action? And the order will be Jakowski, Sanchez, and Paul. And like I mentioned, just please try to limit to 30 seconds to a minute.
All right, I'll make our answer as quick as possible. So we have a full list of policies on our website that I encourage you to check out on this, but we are doing everything we can to ensure that the U is a sustainable campus, and that we are doing everything we can to make campus more accessible and affordable and safe for all students, and standing in solidarity with them. So you can count on us. Our slogan is students empowering students, and that's what we are. We are here for you, to represent you, and to fight for you in every way we can, and to stand in solidarity. So thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you. On to the Sanchez ticket.
Yeah, so we think climate change is a really important topic, especially right now. We want to address it. Um, as of right now, we have a ASUU sustainability branch that we want to make sure students know about and that is properly showcased. We believe that will help like educate students on these actions of climate change and to help Utah as a state as a whole. I personally just a self thing. I've taught women how to invest, and I think it's really important with the stock market happening right now to invest in clean energy ETFs and mutual funds to help not only businesses who are striving in these action items to create a better climate for us. But also just to get involved and to get involved with our economy. I think that's really important because I am a finance major. So, yeah, just overall, we think it's really important that we want to leave a zero carbon footprint initiative for new buildings on campus as well. So the state of Utah, just really fast, the state of Utah is earning twice as fast, is warming twice as fast, so we want to slow that down as much as possible. Okay,
Thank you so much. And then lastly, the Paul ticket.
Listen, I'm tired of seeing our planet being trashed. I love going and skiing. I love being in the outdoors. I think our campus overall does a fairly decent job at with sustainability, but we're not going to know what we have to fix on campus unless we're using campus. Campus is shut down right now. There's no reason to keep the buildings on. There's no reason to keep the lights on or keep using campus unless students are there using it. And if we want to figure out safe and affordable ways that are also helping keep our environment and our world healthy, then we need to be using these resources, or we're not going to have ways we can stop the poor use of, wasting our natural resources on campus. So that's where the Pulse ticket stands.
All right. Thank you all for that. We are just about out of time, but I did want to have y'all answer one more question. It's kind of a combination of two public questions. They're both related to the police force on campus. And so I'll ask Gabriel's question as it kind of summarizes both questions well. It says, does your ticket support an increase of a police force on campus? If so, how come after the recent history on ASUU and the summer protests? I'll repeat, does your ticket support an increase of a police force on campus? If so, how come after the recent history in ASUU and the summer protests? And the order we'll go in is Sanchez, Jakowski, and Paul, and you all will have 30 seconds to a minute.
First of all, I want to acknowledge that the things that happened during the summer are something that we're not going to accept. Police brutality is not something that we want to promote in our campus. We want to ensure students that they can have all the resources, whether if they don't feel comfortable going to University Police Department or Salt Lakes Police Department. We also want to ensure that minorities or people of color, LGBTQ and IA plus, undocumented, documented students feel comfortable going to other resources that can provide them the safety and the access that they need without having to call the police if they don't feel comfortable doing so. I feel like there's a lot of resources out there that we can use regarding calling the police if you don't feel comfortable in doing so. We want to promote students' resources and how they can help that. As well, we want to know that what are the police roles and what are their jurisdictions as well for students that can come to other resources if they feel comfortable in doing so.
We will heavily emphasize community-based alternatives to policing, and will only work with UUPD if absolutely necessary, making it clear that we stand with the students throughout the entire process and will provide any support needed. We will promise to ensure a safe, comfortable process to seek out accountability. And also, I think we need to also remember that they weren't just instances that happened over the summer. They were actually murdered. It was murders. People were actually murdered. George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, all those people were murdered because of police brutality, racism, everything doing with Donald Trump and more. I think we definitely need to just be, understanding and definitely stick by students who are definitely going through these things, and increasing police presence on campus is not safe for minority students, marginalized students, Black students, and more. And I think it's not safe and considerable.
Perfect. Can you hear me okay? Okay, thank you. I'll be answering on behalf of the Paul ticket. Our police has been under heavy fire recently. Without having to go into much detail, we know why. I know personally a lot of people on campus have not had good experiences with police. That's just how it's been. And unfortunately, we had unqualified people running it. And as a result, you get unqualified results. So we need to focus on getting it right. We need to have qualified people running that police force, and we need to focus on the restructure. We need to get more mental health, physical, and health workers working with them to have them and help them know how to better protect and serve our community. Thank you.
All right, and those are all the questions that we have. We know some people wanted to reply to like a couple other things, but we just kind of ran out of time. And so if it's convenient for all the rest of the candidates, we can form a small document with the Q&A questions that we had remaining from the audience, and then we can follow those out via Tori through your emails and stuff like that. And then if you'd like those published anywhere, if you want to maybe use your social media outlets to kind of post those answers and talk about those a bit more in depth, I think that's a good space to do that. But thank you everyone for being here today. We appreciated all the answers and everyone's time provided. And for those that couldn't be there, we still appreciate them. So extend that gratitude from me and the rest of the presidency. But thank you all. And thanks to our viewers for asking those questions. They're all important. That was the sign off.